So why do people not go to mass? Why not go to mass? I think this is not going to be sort of me being rude to any people that are struggling with the English language, but why do some people not go to mass? Didn't quite fit in a nice font size, so I just put why no go mass? Okay. one argument. Okay, it's not contemporary enough, you know. I think what was the event I was at when I did similar to this, Neil? What was that event called?
Lux.
So that was the Lux meeting.
Lux.
You know, and I think there was an activity where people went out to design their own church. Okay, and what aspects of this church would it be like? And so many people with an activity like that always come back saying the music should be bigger, there should be a band, there should be drums, there should be electric guitar, you know, we shouldn't sit on pews, we should sit on sofas, even, you know, depending on how young you are, instead of bread and wine, it should be Monster Munch and Coca-Cola or something like that that's given out at communion. All this stuff that wants to make mass more contemporary because it's all about being new. Yeah, we want it to be new all the time. And there's a problem, right? As soon as you've made something new, 5 minutes later it's not new anymore. It's old. It was. If you've ever tried to keep up with technology, I don't know if there's a lovely Dara O'Brien sketch. Is that there's you sprinting furiously with next to technology who just casually strides along so fast that you frantically try and keep up with the new this, the new this, the new this, but you can never keep up with it. As soon as you try and do that to a liturgy, to mass, to something that is ancient and sacred. You know, we just celebrated the feast of St. Gregory the Great. And St. Gregory reformed the liturgy in his day. It's about the year 600, okay? He reformed the liturgy of his day. And if you were to go to a Gregorian liturgy, you would recognise it if you'd been to Mass today. What he did, you would recognise it. And what happened to Gregorian liturgy was the Council of Trent. And at the Council of Trent, what they did was they turned the priest round, they put the altar at the back, they removed the congregation as far as possible from it. Okay, what they did was then eventually ended up putting up screens so that you couldn't even see what was going on at the altar, but you'd be able to indicate where you were by the ringing of bells. All of the servers and the clergy did all of the readings, the responses. You just participated in Mass by attending. You sat there, you got communion, you went. Okay? And then in Vatican II in 1960, they went back to Gregorian liturgy. He was a pioneer of his time. The people that considered themselves traditional by wanting Latin Mass in the Vatican, pre-Vatican II, so they're not traditional. To be truly traditional is to go back to St. Gregory. Our Mass now represents what that guy did. So time is always changing, and if we try and make things new, there's two types of the word new in Greek. There's neo. Okay, that's where we get the words like neo-conservatives or neo-Nazi. That means new versions. Okay, and neo is the new that's associated with youthfulness. Okay, so you have a new baby. Yeah, that makes sense in that context. It means youth. But there's another type of new, and it's the one that sort of Jesus and St. Paul uses a lot more, which is kainos, K-A-I-N-O-S, and that's when God is making all things new. Okay. Do not conform yourselves to this world, but allow the renewing of your mind. And that is a new that is to do with freshness. Yes, we need to make sure that our presentation of the Mass as church is fresh, because it is fresh. It does not decay. We don't have to make it new, faddish. Okay? And that brings us on to our next thing. Another thing that people get disenchanted with Mass is because we've become consumers. Everything in this life now is to do with consumerism. We can make things so cheaply that no one repairs things anymore. Okay, I don't know if you had a granddad or someone that literally something stopped working, out came the screwdrivers, it got torn apart, it got put back together. You know, and I realised I was a victim of this because our washing machine broken. Our washing machine broke. And what's the first thing I do? Go on my iPhone to see how much a new washing machine would cost. I ended up, because my wife encouraged me to, I went online, looked at YouTube videos, bought a part, opened up the machine, replaced the part. Fantastic. Turns out actually, because I opened it up, it didn't even need the new part, I just needed to clean out the motor that was in there because it had hair clips, long hair, which wasn't mine, and various other coins and stuff like that were jammed in it. That's why the machine wouldn't drain. And if it wouldn't drain, our machine doesn't start up. That's what it's programmed to do, because it doesn't want to flood your kitchen. So, but just by cleaning it out, I managed to repair this, because we invested in a good washing machine. And it's like that we become people that just look for, oh, replace it, move on. Consumerists leave church saying, oh, I didn't like the homily today. Oh, that music, I don't like that song. Non-consumerists leave church saying, how's that for you, God? Is that a pleasing sacrifice and worship to you, God? Because there's this amazing thing that takes place, is worship is our service, it's our sacrifice, it's to God. That's what we do. But if you try and outgive God, you will lose. I encourage you to play that game. Try and, in your life, try and outgive God. Financially, spiritually, and everything. Try and outgive the generosity of God. You cannot. So what happens when we worship and we give of ourselves, and we don't make it all about ourselves? And I don't like this. Oh, I've heard this reading before. Oh, it's that homily again. You know, when we make it about ourselves, we're going to be disappointed. But when we make it about God, what God does is He gives it to us. He gives back in abundance compared to what we give. You go, you put up with a liturgy that you consider boring and predictable, He gives you His body and blood. You don't come out of church anymore thinking, oh, I didn't like that. But you come out of church thinking, God, was that pleasing to you? I'm here because of you, God. I'm here for you, God. I don't even care anymore if I don't like it. How is it for you? Which is completely countercultural. Completely countercultural. And another reason why people wouldn't go to Mass is because their culture isn't there. And when I'm talking to young people particularly, no one wants to be the only one of them there. When they're the only one of them, the only one that's of their generation, of their age, of their friendship group. And that's a battle. That's a battle that we're going to increasingly face. You'll find that lots of people that were steadfast in your faith of your age will go to university and they'll be out of their culture, their little faith culture that you've established through NYMO youth ministry stuff, and then you'll be out all over the country to different places. You won't engage yourself perhaps in a Christian union or something like that, and you'll find yourself out of your culture. And so you stop participating because you don't want to be the only one. Okay, so be really aware of that. You've got to stop trying to make Mass contemporary, because it's not. It's an ancient ritual. We've got to change our consumerist attitudes. And I'm not just talking to you, I've got to do this as well. Someone that's been involved in music at church, the first thing I do is walk in, hear the first hymn, go, I really chose that one today, you know. This gospel's coming up, you choose that hymn. That's what you do. Silly organist. And because it's gonna don't expect it ever to fit in with your culture, because Jesus is countercultural, so His church is going to be countercultural. Don't think that it's ever going to be the cultural thing to do. Yeah, it's always going to go against the grain. I think the Latin term for it, when I had a spiritual director that told me that anything you try and do spiritually is adjura contra, against the tide. You are always rowing against the tide. Okay, it's why prayer is the only thing in life that's not addictive. You know, whenever you go, if you put into your schedule prayer time, you'll be amazed at how clean your student accommodation will become. How even that essay is more tempting to do. It will never be in the culture of human beings to be godly, because we live in a fallen creation. We have to fight counterculturally constantly. Okay? Just a few things there. Our God is a physical God. So it's only natural that we would have a physical expression of worshiping Him. Okay? Other gods, other religions, remain spiritual beings constantly. We have a God that got physical. Okay? In the story of God, okay, there was no physical presence. His spirit hovered over the waters, Genesis 1. Okay? He did not have a physical presence. Then, this is how I remember it, the chili con carne. Okay? Any Italian speakers here know what those words mean? Chili with meat. I use this a lot. So we have chili with meat, If you change the con to in, you have God in me. The incarnation, Jesus Christ, the story of Christmas is God becoming me, God becoming flesh and blood, God getting physical. He did not want to remain just a spiritual being, but he humbled himself to share in humanity. He wanted to be physically present with us. Okay? That's how we get Jesus. That's the whole point of the incarnation. God being with us. Okay?